All right. This is Greg Kimball with the Final Percent Podcast. We're going to have a special guest today, Doug Wood. He is a friend of mine that I met at a business conference, 10X Growth Con. I think it was technically 10X Growth Con 2. And he's doing a lot of things in the health industry. He's coming out with a book. He's coming out with a lot of very interesting, very cool things. And so we are going to talk to him and see what he is up to and what he has got going on, so that you can kind of find out how did he go from where he was to where he is, and hopefully give you some insight on that, but also ways to connect with him and just trying to spread the love of people who go the final percent. So we're going to give him a call right now, and hang tight.
Greg.
Hey, Doug, how are you doing?
Good, man.
Well, welcome to my podcast. I certainly appreciate you jumping on with me.
Couldn't be more excited to be here, brother.
Well, I just gave you a little bit of an introduction. We met at a business conference. You're in the health industry. You're coming out with a book. Just from me knowing you personally and following you on social, you do so many things that help so many people. And one of the big things that I talk about all the time is I wish more people told their story from the middle. And I wish more people were showing how they're actively doing things, because in business conferences today, it's a bunch of afters talking to a bunch of befores, and no one's saying, hey, here's what I'm going through in the middle. And one of the things that we talked about, which is great about your book that's coming out, is you very much open up the middle and tell people, hey, this is what I went through to make it. This is what I'm actively going through. Hey, I'm launching a book and I'm doing the best I can. And you're going through that process and entering this new chapter of your life. But you've always been, no pun intended with the book coming out, but you've always been an open book. And I've very much enjoyed getting to know you and getting to know your story and your beautiful family, and just with what you have been able to accomplish with your wife. It's truly incredible. And I think that because everyone's path is different, the more people we can get on a podcast like this to talk about their story, talk about what they've done to get to their place, but also what they're doing right now to change their lives and change the lives of others, I think is important, because everyone's path is going to be different. Not everyone can walk in your shoes. Not everyone can walk in my shoes. It's the stories of everyone's journey that I think really can change people's lives. And that's why I'm very excited to have you on here, because, you went from church boy to millionaire, furniture guy to millionaire, and you're healthier than ever. You've got a beautiful family, and you're actively changing lives. So I just wanted to kind of give you the floor so you can kind of give people an overview of, your thought process, some of your ideology, some of the things that you've gone through that are exciting, and then maybe let's talk about this book a little bit.
Wow, Greg, thanks so much, man. You're right. Most people don't care to talk to the millionaire. You want to talk to the church boy,
yeah.
and really where the process started, and that's what it is, man. I fight like hell every single day to contend to be the greatest version of myself. Yeah. And Tia and I always say, my wife Tia, we live here in Scottsdale, and we always say we're just average people with above average desires, and we have not changed. The interesting thing was, though, 9 years ago, we reached a point to where we're like, you know what, we're tired of having an average marriage. We're tired of just making an average income. We're tired of doing the average week and watching the Sunday night Game of Thrones thing and starting the whole process over on Monday to look forward to the weekend. And we finally just did something about it. We knew that we had this virus, and it was called settling in, being like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And so we did something about it. And I think the first thing I did, Greg, was, we started by changing our health. And my wife and I lost over 100 pounds together. And the cool thing is that through the program that it taught us and coached us through, we were able to keep it off. But it's amazing when your health gets in alignment, how your spirit comes alive. You actually start increasing your confidence, and your income starts going up, and you find ways to get more creative. And I think all in all, man, the last 9 years, we have just continued to do the hard work. And T and I say, not just the hard work, because I think everyone can, work harder, and you need to do more. And to your point, even some of the conferences that we both go to or have attended, everyone's just like, you got to be up early and you got to work late. And that is true, but you got to do the heart work, the internal work. You got to look within and say, what's my heart telling me? What's my spirit telling me? Am I being the intentional father that I want to be? Am I doing the small little things? And it's not hours, but am I doing the little things that I know my wife, that means the world to her? And no, it's not always just buying flowers. It's just those little meaningful connections.
Wow.
Sometimes it's just sending that little random text of kindness, just a little voice text or a Facebook message, just saying, "Hey, bro, thinking about you today."
Yeah.
And it's doing the small things, internal, but also for other people, that really puts you into such a place of gratitude as you're working through that process. And of course, personal development, listening to podcasts like this, and learning from other people and growing. And I got to say, Greg, man, for the last, I'd say we've kind of been all into this process. I had the awakening 9 years ago, but 7 years ago is when Tia looked at me. I'll never forget. It was January 1st, 2011. It was a cold day in Portland, Oregon, a really cold day. And it doesn't get cold there. It's usually raining. But I remember this day, like we were wrapped up, like it was preparing for a snow, but I think it was too cold to snow. And she looks at me, and we'd just written out our goals for the year. And she looks at me with very, with just pure, healthy conviction and tears streaming down her face. She kind of almost steps on my feet. My wife's shorter, so she kind of is looking up at me, and she grabs my arm. She goes, "Doug, if we don't get out of our own way and start contending and make this year the best year ever, we are holding ourselves, our girls," because we have 2 little girls, and Maya and Kate, and thousands of people up from their breakthrough. She goes, "I truly believe that we right now are at a pivotal point, that if we don't make these shifts and contend, we're contending for other people's breakthrough right now." And bro, that was just over 7 years ago. Or excuse me, it'd be 8 years ago, because it's 19. And, bro, we have not slowed down ever since. Have there been a lot of bumps on the roads? Are there still, some key things that we have to talk about? I mean, even, today's Wednesday, Monday, man, my wife and I, we had an interesting start to our week, because I got this book coming out here in a couple weeks, and we kind of started off on the wrong foot. We didn't wake up. We didn't set the atmosphere in the house with music like we normally do. We didn't stop and just say a prayer together, and we got into the motions of reacting to all these dings on our phones and messages. And next thing you know, an hour or two later, we were kind of like feeling like our marriage and our week was in reactionary mode. So we had to stop. We had to come together. We had to get back on the same page and plan our week. So even to this day, man, even though, we're through a lot of the stuff, but we have the tools that we still have to constantly remind ourselves to go back and do. And, obviously that's what I talk a lot about in the book too.
Well, that's so interesting, and I mean that's a testament to exactly what we were talking about, because you are looking. I mean, so many of the afters, as I call them, the people, the gurus. I think we're in this, and I think it's complete crap, to be honest with you. The fact that we have all of these people who stand on stage and they say, like, my way is the right way, and your way is one of the ways, but so many people are just trying to portray this model of perfection. And I think it's such a testament to who you are and what you're trying to do, because the first thing you say is like, hey, even as soon as close to where we're talking as Monday, we went through an adjustment period and we had to rethink and reconnect and redo this. And most people don't tell those stories, but everyone's going through them. And I think that's why it's going to make your message and your book and different things that you're doing so much more powerful, because vulnerability is such a double-edged sword, and you have to put faith and trust into your story to allow people to know what you're going through. And I just remember the very first time I talked to you, and you were going through just all of the stories, and I was literally sitting here thinking, I am so lucky to find a real person in the influencer industry and the speaker industry. And it's so funny. The first story out of your mouth is you're saying, hey man, we we didn't do that. We didn't set the atmosphere. We didn't this, and we started paying for it, so we had to stop. And most people just want to portray the picture of saying, hey, no, we're perfect. Everything's always good. And you and I both know that that's just not true. It's not real.
So true, man. And that's why, you might look at our Facebook or our Instagram photos and you won't find a bunch of filtered photos, man. This is our real life.
Yeah.
I got a pimple on my face. It's gonna be there in the photo. That's how I am in real life. So, what you see is what you get. But when you have clarity in your purpose, and you know where you're going, and you understand your unique ability, you realize that you don't have to put anything on for anybody. And for the people that don't accept that, you don't have to be like, well, they're lost and pound sand. It's just more of it's a quiet confidence that, look, I know why God put me on this earth. I am one of God's highest form of creation. Yeah. And I'm going to walk out and fulfill my purpose on this earth. And it's not to impress anybody. And what I've found is, since I've started being the real, authentic me, Greg, people have come to us being like, man, you're so real. I'm like, well, thank you. And to your point, I am. But I'm like, once you start being yourself, just like you and Kayla, man, that's why I fell in love with you guys. T and I, a couple of years ago when we met for the first time in Vegas, was that, man, when people are just going about their unique ability, showing up to the world to make impact, it's so attractive. And you're thinking like, man, and I'm not even saying T and I are that attractive of a couple. I think why people think we're attractive is because, to your point, we're just going to keep it real. And that's what I would encourage anybody listening right now, is that your friends and your family actually want the real you. And if they don't, if that's not good enough, I'm going to challenge you to drop some friends and ask who's in your inner circle and go get around people that are in pursuit, and they will support you and encourage you. And that's what people want.
One of the things when I'm coaching people, and this is to your point, to kind of support it, I tell them, look, you only have three kinds of people in your life. Number one, and the most abundant amount of people, this first kind is people who need to get out of your life. The second kind of people in your life are people who are stepping stones in your life. And here's the problem with people who don't understand how to use stepping stones. Stepping stones are people that you can step on to move forward, but you need to understand that when they need you and they need to step on you to move forward, you need to allow them to do that as well. So the thing is if you're stepping on people, but you're not allowing them to step as well, guess what? You're someone who is in the you need to get out of their life category. And then the third most amazing kind of people that can show up in your life are cornerstones. Now, these people are so powerful and they're so different. They challenge you and they change you. And the thing is because challenge and change is not a fun process, at first glance, these kinds of people can look like people who need to get out of your life. And so that's this big circle and cycle that we are living in today. But with what you were just saying is, I challenge you to drop some friends. I absolutely agree with that so much, because so many people they have a bunch of people in their life who realistically need to get out of their life, but they're trying to change them into cornerstones. And that's the most toxic thing you can do for yourself, is someone who needs to get out of your life and you're trying to make them a cornerstone. And look, if they haven't showed up for you in a year or 2 years, I mean, it's time to move on and really focus on yourself and build. And so the getting people out of your life who are toxic and people who can't have faith or can't believe or bring the drama or talk behind your back or lie or steal, whatever it is, I mean, you have to have a kind of a non-negotiable of zero tolerance for that, because you have to have people who are stepping stones. They're one of the most crucial people in our life. And then the cornerstones in your life. I mean, I can say I probably have four cornerstones in my life. I'm about to be 34 tomorrow, and I can honestly say in 34 years I've found less than five people who are my cornerstones. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that we just have to start being real with ourselves. And
Right.
so getting people out of your life who just don't need to be there and aren't helping. And another thing that I found very interesting with you specifically, which I think just um, comes back to how real you are. Because if you think about it, you're in a really cool position. I mean, you just took like 2,000 people on a cruise, for crying out loud. You have a couple hundred people over to your house that you're coaching and you're changing their lives. You've named your house and the acreage that it's on Breakthrough Acres. I mean, you're one of these world shakers. And so I've met more than a few people who are in your position from the outside looking in, but I found it so interesting that every time that we've talked, there is such an open and a fluid exchange of ideas. And so I was saying, hey, this is kind of my idea for this. And you were so present and so engaged because you wanted to learn. It wasn't just, hey, I've done all of this cool stuff and I've done this. I don't want to hear your ideas. You listen to mine. And that was something that I found so amazing. And that's why I truly think in the influencer space and in everything that you're doing, I think you're just getting started, man, because you're just such a compassionate person. And it's amazing because you really actually care about people. And it's not a front. Most influencers, I can honestly say, their I really care about you is absolutely a front. And it is
Mm.
amazing to just watch you go through life. And I'm telling you, anybody out there, when you engage and you want to connect with Doug and you start understanding his brand and what he's doing, if he is going live on Facebook or he's doing this, that, and the other, he is never going on live on Facebook just to do the influencer thing. He's doing it because he's really trying to change your life or the person's life or trying to help people or trying to use his network to springboard someone else. It's truly an amazing thing to see, and the fact that you really walk the walk, you don't just talk the talk, is a very impressive thing to witness, because I interview so many influencers and it's just, man, when the mic goes off, they're sitting here going, oh man, I hope this gets me this many followers. Oh, I hope I get this, blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, man, I with the way that you talk on air, I thought that you'd be like, man, I really hope even if one person listened to that, I hope I change their life. And that's really
Mm.
who you are.
Well, man, that's to your point, Greg. That's all I know. And I think, T and I have also realized that who the type of people you want to attract.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying stuff is bad, because don't get me wrong, I like my stuff. But, some people try to uh, purposely show things off that maybe theirs or not theirs, or the things
Hmm.
that they can have. And I realized that, when you try to lead a life with carrot and sticks of look what you can do and look what you can have if you have this or buy my program, I, I don't know, man. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but T and I sometimes will purposely do our Facebook lives and we'll make sure that one of our nice cars is not in the background,
Hmm.
because we don't want to distract from the message we're trying to give. Now,
Yeah.
sometimes we just can't control it wherever we are, and yeah, people can see my property,
Yeah.
but stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Lives matter. Your own life matters. Your own purpose. Your kids. Your impact matters, and that's why you know profit will always follow purpose.
Yeah.
And if you're clear
Absolutely.
on your purpose, there will be so much profit to take care of, and have all that fun stuff. But when people's focus is out of balance and it's all about profit, it's all about the dollar, they can sometimes sacrifice the person or the people,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's sacrificing their truest, most authentic self to get the profit. And we just, I really take a lot of time to make sure people have 100% clarity on what they're truly pursuing. And when you're making an impact on other people's lives, you're you'll have plenty of influence. I think you'll have plenty of stuff if that's what motivates.
Yeah. Well. So you're saying a word that keeps coming up in just the way that you talk, and it seems like it has played a huge role in your success and your life. And you said get clear and clarity, and I've heard clarity probably five times out of your mouth. I've heard clear a couple of times. So let's talk about when did you finally get clear on your purpose, and what were some of the first steps that happened?
I'd go back 7 years ago when I owned a furniture store in Portland, Oregon. Made decent money. Had a small company, about 15 employees, did a couple $1 million a year in total revenue. But I would say I found myself going through the motions week to week,
Mm-hmm.
and had a well-paid job that I owned. I owned a really well-paid job. And there were seasons that kind of beat me up in the furniture business, especially 2008.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a 2008 story.
Everyone has a 2008 story. That's true.
Oh, man, just a great 2008 story. So when I finally looked at myself after doing this thing that, my dad, I'd gotten into business with my dad. Everyone was always like, oh, you're going to be a big furniture guy just like your dad was. I didn't know it at the time, but I'd taken on this identity of I'm going to run the family business and create my own bigger and better. And I want to also say there's nothing wrong with that because I believe in legacy and I love seeing things that get passed on to generations. But I found myself going through the motions, just like other people find themselves with a big, nice degree on the wall that maybe they have used or haven't used.
Mm.
And they start doing something out of being guilted by how much money they spent on that degree. Or so-and-so gave me this promotion, or I'm at this job that I hate. I got the promotion. This would be everyone else's dream job.
Yeah.
But why am I lacking fulfillment? Or maybe it's costing me my family and my time.
Yeah.
For money. And that's why I always say I'm not for sale. I believe in going where God calls you to be or you want to be and not where income calls you to be. And a lot of people are living or doing something because of income. And there's nothing wrong. I like income.
Yeah.
But if you're lacking fulfillment, and we get this one life that I'm aware of, I haven't figured out a second one yet. I'm on my first one that I know of. And if I get this one life, and I spent the first 31 years of my life, and I'm going to say I got into business at 20, owned a furniture store until I was 33 years old. And if I get this one life and I am this young in the game, yes, money's okay, but why am I lacking fulfillment? I needed to figure that out. And so I realized that I was better making an impact and helping other people. And for me, it started off as my struggle, and still is to this day. My greatest place of pain has always been my weight and me being overweight. For crying out loud, I was born 10.5 pounds. I always apologize to my mom. But I was a big boy. And when you get freedom in an area that has drowned you for so freaking long, you can't help but share it with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And when I started sharing that with other people, because I became my own accountability partner by sharing it with others, that I was like, I love helping people find freedom in something that I'm good at. And I found out that I was a good coach. I was a good health coach. And I had a program that worked.
Yeah.
So I became absolutely obsessed with that. And for about 6 years, but I'll fast forward to last year, after you've accomplished everything that a lot of people might say, wow, Doug, you've made it. And so, last year, 2018, my wife and I spent 3 out of the 12 months overseas. We literally traveled the world 3 different times. We went to Israel once in the UK, spent over a month in Europe, and then we ended the year in Singapore and Bali. We were going to go to Hong Kong, but we didn't. And I have to tell you, Greg, and I don't want to discourage anybody that wants to travel, it was the most incredible time with my family. However, 2018 was my least fulfilled year since being in the furniture business. And you're thinking, man, Doug, you have you're at a point in your life to where you literally can be overseas and you're still getting paid well, and it's not costing anything, and you're with your family. Isn't that the American dream? For some, it may be, but when you know that you are better and you are at your best self when you are in service to another human being, and it's not just about the money, you realize, like, I have got to go help more people. I am the best dad. I am the best husband. I am the best coach. I am the best speaker when I am in the thrill of the pursuit of helping others accomplish exactly what I did. So what happened was I was on the plane to Singapore beginning of December, and I had a panic moment, and I said, if something happens to me and I survive, and I don't survive, and my girls do, they have nothing documented to know where their dad went from the hard days of the days wanting to quit, days wanting to commit suicide, the days that I wanted to leave their mom, the days that I just hated myself, and how I got myself out of that, and what our family stands for to have the life that they have today. So literally, I came back home in early January, and I wrote the book Church Quit a Millionaire.
Wow.
And that's it, man, because I realized it took me traveling the world and experiencing 6 to 7 years of amazing growth and success to realize that unless someone is in full pursuit and clear on their purpose, they're going to lack fulfillment. And money in your bank account or your net worth does not bring happiness. Don't get me wrong. It ain't going to make you not happy.
Yeah.
But but at the same time, total fulfillment comes with pursuing what matters most to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, dude, that's so powerful. One of the things with clarity, it's funny that word popped up in another podcast, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I've heard it somewhere before, but one of the things that I said in that podcast that I've been using a bunch, and I really invite you to start using as well, because the guy goes, we said something along the lines of clear on your purpose and clear, this, that, and the other. And he said, what do you think the ABCs of success are? And I said, you know what? I don't think it's the ABCs of success. I think it's the CBAs of success. And it's, you have to be clear on what you want to do. You have to be clear on what your purpose is, clear on where you're going. Then you have to believe that you can actually achieve that. And then the A is action. Because so many people, really want to know what they want to do and this, that, and the other, but they don't really believe they're capable or believe they should, and they self-sabotage. But then there's a lot of people who are clear on what they want to do. They do believe in what they can do, but then they won't take any action. And I think that's why stories like yours are so powerful for people, because there's a lot of people who have the same opportunities you did. It's just they never took action, and you had that, like you said, the relentless pursuit, because you got sick and tired of the old saying, sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you wanted to, shameless plug for my ideology, but you wanted to find the final percent of life. You wanted to go the final percent for your family. And I think I really truly think that you're just getting started. And that's why, it was so funny. My assistant and I were talking, and we were saying, you know what, let's start interviewing people on the podcast. I think it could be very powerful. And you were literally the very first person that I text, because I was like, if there's anybody I want to get on the podcast, it's Doug, because he's one of those people who, I walk through life trying to inspire and motivate people for sure, but I was just like, he's one of those people who, it's a very reciprocal feeling. Like, he inspires and motivates me just the same. And it was like, you were the first person I talked to everyone about. I text you and I'm like, when can we do it? And of course I was like, I'll call you right now. And you're like, okay, I'm in the middle of 5 million things. Let's plan on next week. But, yeah, it's just exciting to hear your story. And then the other thing that I think is very powerful that I would like to expand on in some fashion with your family in conjunction with mine is, I think the fact that we have such amazing and not, you know how they say every great man, behind every great man behind every good man is a great woman. I think the difference between you and I is our wives are not behind us. They're beside us. And I run my company with my wife. I know you do the same. And our wives are just as powerful, if not, we'd probably both say probably more powerful than us. But we have such amazing women by our side, and we're running it as a team. And I think one of the things that is going on today is entrepreneurship. You have either the wife wants to go this way or the husband wants to go this way. They're never on the same page. And then when the entrepreneurship spirit hits one of them, it seems like business starts driving a wedge in marriages. And for whatever reason, in your situation and my situation, the entrepreneurship spirit made our marriages better, and it made us stronger. And I think that is something, because we live in such an independent age, and we live in such an age where really anything is possible and you can design your own future. You would think that we would be able to build these great marriages. And I'm curious, what do you think is some of your and T's best like success stories. Like, why do you think it's making you guys such an amazing team and such an amazing couple, and the marriage is there along with the business? Because most of the time it's you either have a great marriage and you have one breadwinner, or you have a crap marriage. And I mean, it's never you have a great marriage and a great business. So what do you think, like, what are some of the secrets that you would love to give to other people who are trying this whole relationship thing while building a business?
Well, I think, it starts off when we get married, we all we fall into roles
Mm-hmm.
that either we or probably society puts on us. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Doug's going to make the money. Tia will kind of work on the side, or she'll watch the kids. And, you don't even know it, but you find yourself in roles. Who's going to do the dishes? And I'm not even saying, I do the dishes. I'm just saying, like, who's going to get the kids ready for church? Who drives? I mean, if you think about it, we subliminally, unknowingly, I should say unconsciously, we all have roles in our marriages and our lives that we never even said, in our marriage, we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It just naturally happened that way.
Yeah.
And you realize as you're going through life playing these roles, you're in partnership, but you're in unity, and you got married, but yet you find yourself kind of sometimes even going tit for tat, like, and I kind of call it keeping score.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until year 11, because our hardest years of marriages were year 3, year 7, and year 11, which was interesting. Those were the 11 years that I was in the furniture business. And I ran the store, and Tia ran the home and the kids, and, we kind of played our roles. But until coming together on a unified business to create something together, we had, for the first time in our marriage, it forced us to sit down and say, what do we want to create together?
That's awesome.
Now, we will naturally play roles according to strengths.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the first thing that couples could do, is sit down and actually have some people might call it a come to Jesus talk, but literally what are we doing? Like, what do we want to create this next year? And I'm not talking about who's going to do the dishes. I'm talking about, where does the Wood family want to be in January of 2020? What's that going to look like? What are our dreams? What are our values? What matters most to us? And it could be we're going on vacation too. Like, that's fine. And then understand that, are we clear on the non-negotiable? And the non-negotiable is what we want. And yes, we both want this. Now, then from there, people do need to play their roles, but understand that you're putting credit into the same kitty, because it's the same common goal.
Mm-hmm.
Me doing dishes or putting the kids to bed tonight is okay because Tia is on a call or doing a podcast or doing a Facebook Live that contributes to the direction we're going. So I'm not on her and annoyed with her Facebooking.
Yeah. And
I'm doing the kids' bedtime because we've committed to the bigger goal, and we're not keeping score in the small day-to-day. Well, or when she needs a night off or needs to go get a pedicure, I'm not, you got a pedicure last year. It's my last week. It's my turn this week.
Yeah.
And going this tit for tat stuff. We're like, no, baby, you go do it, because we have a mutual trust that one of us is not going to abuse and not do our part. We're both going to do our part. And that's helped Tia and I a ton, Greg.
Well, dude, that not keeping score, I mean, please tell me there's a not keeping score chapter in your book.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay, good, because I'm telling you, that's something. I mean, if you think about it, now, no matter what side you fall on, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, or if you're a husband, or if you're a wife, or if you're a friend talking to another friend, I think this not keeping score thing it transcends through what realistically the world needs, America needs, because everybody is so addicted to the give and take mentality. And one of the things that I try to help people illustrate is, we grew up on football, which is great. We grew up on golf, which is great. We grew up on soccer, grew up on hockey. And what that's called is a zero-sum game. And that means for someone to win, there has to be someone who loses. And so it's ingrained in the way that we think and talk. If someone wins something, then someone has to lose something. And we start communicating like that. And what I've realized is that if we stop playing a zero-sum game, because 99% of life is actually meant to be everyone should win. So for the husband to win, the wife shouldn't feel like she has to lose, or vice versa. For
Right.
Republicans to win, the Democrats should not feel like they have to lose. But we're playing this weird game constantly to where we're playing our lives and how we walk through life very similar to a football game. But the thing is it's just not the way it works. For instance, I mean, Church Boy to Millionaire, if that blows up and does a billion, it's the first book that sells a billion copies. I mean, I should be elated with that because, hey, man, I knew him win, and that's definitely going to help me. But there's so many people out there who would say, oh, man, he does stuff that's way too close to what I'm doing, and he does this. I don't want to interview him because it's that crab in a barrel mentality.
Yep.
And one of the things that I tell people all the time is you have to get used to pushing power towards power. And
Yep.
it's a leadership principle because so many leaders are used to being counselors and consolers. And if you think about what happens when you are trying to lead someone, everyone comes to you with their problems, comes to you with their problems. So you turn into this counselor and you're sitting there trying to mitigate people's weaknesses. And I think that is just kind of the entry level of leadership. The best level of leadership is go, okay, cool. You are not good at this part, and it's pretty obvious. What you are good at is this, and I want to equip you to go use your strengths and go down there. And that's something that you had said that, hey, everyone's going to have their roles, but it's going to be, you're going to go have your roles based on your strengths, not your sex or perceived position in a household. And I think that that's extremely powerful for kind of every relationship, and especially leadership. If you're leading a team of people or employees or anything like that, don't let people come just use you as a therapist. You're not a trained person like that. You need to equip people to be better, to become more, so that they can do more and then they can have more. You have to equip people based on their strengths and then push power towards power. The other part of that is the only way to push power towards real power is have some proximity to power. So that means you have to work on yourself more than you do other people so that you can become powerful, and then it's the law of attraction. And a lot of people say, well, you say power too much, and I don't really like that, this, that, and the other. The other way that you can say push power towards power is always support one another. And that's it. Just always try and strive to help people become more. And whatever strength you see in them, push them as far down that road as they're comfortable going. And maybe just a little bit more. Stretch them a little bit. Because I often say humans are just like rubber bands. They're only useful if they're stretched.
Mm. Greg, I really hope your listeners are taking notes because I have like almost a full page of notebook paper notes right now. Like this is seriously straight knowledge. So thank you. I'm just such a sponge, and you're just, every time I get around you, I learn so much. And to your point, you stretch me, and that's what I love about you. Bro.
And I feel the same thing about you. And going back to the power towards power, and you have to become powerful to attract other powerful people. What we have to start looking at is if you're hanging around people, you gotta start putting people in categories of, is this subtraction, is it addition, or is it multiplication? And I think that it's really interesting to, if you're hanging around people, say, hey, do I get more done when I'm alone and without them, or are they diminishing me in some capacity because they're always either falling behind or they're this? It's one thing if someone's asking questions and you're being a mentor. That's a completely different thing. But I'm just saying that toxic behavior. But then you have people who are average and they're okay and they're good to have around, because then 1 + 1 = 2. That's a great thing because you're going to be able to do more stuff together. But you have those very special relationships where the chemistry hits just right and 1 + 1 = 37. And those kinds of relationships are like Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates. Without they made Microsoft. That changed the world. Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. If Steve Jobs doesn't find Steve Wozniak, Apple does not happen. Now, Steve Jobs probably would have done something great, but nothing near as great as what he did because he found the chemistry just right. And going back to the point of our wives, I think we were lucky enough to find wives that exponentially multiply us, and it's such an amazing thing to have. And then we get used to that kind of relationship. And so that's what we look for in friendships, in business partnerships, in the rest of the relationships in our life. And so I think that's one thing why you and I are so easy to say, hey, you know what, I really want some knowledge from you. Hey, have you thought of this concept? And we're so excited to take notes and figure things out with each other, and based off of each other is we truly do push power towards power. If you're doing something powerful, man, I want everybody to know about it. And I think it's so special. And I think that's what people need to start. And it goes back to the people who need to get out of your life, stepping stones in your life, cornerstones in your life. I think if we start really saying, oh man, am I in a subtractive relationship? Am I in addition right now? Or am I in this exponential part of life, which is giving me this once in a lifetime chemistry? And I think we found that in our wives, and that's what sets our standard for relationships so high, because we're used to that exponential part.
Absolutely, man. That's exactly right.
Well, so that we don't talk everyone's ear off, we're coming out with a book on April 29th. It's going live on Amazon, correct?
That's exactly right. It's a hardback and, of course, Kindle, audio, ebook, all the good stuff.
So this is exciting, man. You're gonna come out, and then you're doing a book tour, and that basically starts. I mean, you've already done your first couple book events, correct?
Actually, no. I kick off. I have a special Inner Circle night next week here in Scottsdale, which I know you're coming down for, Greg.
I am
part of my Inner Circle family, and then really it kicks off on the 29th to the public. But then after that, my wife, my family, my team, we're literally going on tour for the entire summer. We're having our first event here in Phoenix on May 3rd, and we will end the tour back here after going all the way around the United States sometime in mid to late August.
Wow.
We're doing over 35 stops in 35 different cities, and we're just going to go and literally empower and equip people to start winning, to get in abundance, to get in momentum, their purpose, their family, their finances.
Awesome.
And they're going to be powerful nights.
So if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to and when I say best way, it could be your preferred way. Is it an email? Is it a website? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? I mean, because all the influencers have a different way of wanting to interact with prospective people who could, whether they go into the Inner Circle, whether they go on one of your programs, whether they want to book you for speaking. What's the best way to get in touch with the Wood family?
Well, first of all, you can follow us over at The Real Doug Wood on Instagram and Facebook. And then from there, if you want to possibly come to one of our events, we'd love to have you out. You can go to massivemomentumtour.com.
Nice.
And that has all the events on there. And then, my website, therealdougwood.com. And everything is on there. But you find us on Instagram or Facebook, we will be connected forever.
Awesome. That is so cool, man. Well, really just a big heartfelt thank you from me to you. I really appreciate you sharing your story. I certainly am going to be picking up a book, probably multiple books, and I'm certainly getting it on Audible because I am addicted to knowledge. I'm addicted to the Audible side of things as well. I'm sure what we'll do is when you're in the middle of your tour, maybe from a location or something, or when you stop by Denver, I know this is one of your stops, we'll do another podcast, and then maybe we can do you sign a book and we'll send it out to someone that got impacted by this podcast. But we thank you so much from the bottom of, well, certainly my heart. I know that my listeners going to they're going to love this, and I just really, really appreciate you, man. And thanks for not quitting, and thanks for not giving in, and thanks for being a perseverance expert. And we really appreciate what you're doing for the entrepreneurs and the young people and I mean, dude, every walk of life, actually. Just thank you for not letting that voice that told you to go change some lives go unnoticed. And thanks for speaking up. We just really appreciate it, and certainly thanks for getting on this podcast.
You're welcome, Greg, and T and I really appreciate you and Kayla. It's just an honor to do life with you guys. Well, God bless, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
You bet. Bye.
All right. That was The Real Doug Wood. He's just such a great person. Please, April 29th, go grab a copy of his book. He is truly something special, and I'm telling you, he is the real deal. So, just again, huge shout out to Doug Wood. The massive momentumtour.com, I think, is if you want to go to one of his events. He's doing 35 cities, and knowing him, by the time he's done, it's probably going to be more like 100 cities, just because every time you look at it, he will be adding cities, because he's that kind of guy. And whether I know he did a conference recently where he had 1,500 or 2,000 people show up, and he maxed out the venue. He'll give you the same experience if he's going to a new city and maybe a lot of people didn't hear about it, or this, that, and the other, and there's 16 people in the audience. I'm telling you, he's going to give you the same experience, the same attention. So please look into what he's got going on. He's one of those great story, I don't want to say rags to riches story or anything like that. He's certainly come a long way, but I also think he's just getting started, and I think he is actively telling his story from the middle, and I think he has a lot of wisdom and knowledge to give people so that they can maybe see success, and that's what this is all about. He's going to help you get to success. I'm going to help you get to success. We just want you to get there faster than we did. That's why we're telling our story. So once again, thank you so much. This has been the Final Percent Podcast, and we had special guest Doug Wood. Thanks, Doug. We appreciate you.